Salut Jacob. Hey,
Salut.
Esan is here. Eric,
Hi,
nice.
everybody.
Hey guys.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Perfect.
cool. Some of my favorite people on screen.
Likewise.
So we always wake you up, Esan, right?
It's actually not bad. It's like 7:30 in the morning, so it's
Yeah, it's
good.
better than last time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
good
yeah.
morning.
Last time it was like 4 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah,
Morning.
Well,
yeah,
4
we'll
a.m. is
just give
tough.
a minute or two to other people to join in. That might be easier. And we only have I only wanted to make it short and sweet so that we were able to get people on board for a first
Mhm.
time.
Oh, hi,
Hey,
Kev.
Hi.
ahoy,
Hi.
Man, a group of legends here.
League of Legends.
League of Legends. Yeah.
Now that Diane is here.
Hi, yes.
Hello.
I think Daria couldn't make it, she told me. So that's why I'm recording the meeting. She wanted to be there, but she couldn't make it. If you guys don't know Daria, she's working with Diane and she's been doing some pretty cool stuff in the pyRevit extension.
Oh, I see.
Hi, Tamash.
Yep.
So that's the first time for me with a few of you in real life, almost.
Real life, yeah.
Okay, shall we start? Maybe
How many more do you expect?
two or three, maybe more.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Who is
8, 9, about
behind?
10 people on the invite.
Yeah,
Or
that's
maybe more.
fine. It's gonna be just fine like that.
Okay.
Who is Dozinep?
And that's a first. So I didn't want to invite too many people, and
Mhm.
the first objective of this meeting was just to get people from the European side on track a bit, because they were some of the most active people on the pyRevit community in general.
Okay.
Hi, Gertjan.
Hello. Glad I could make it.
So there's no big agenda, at least on my side. There's a few topics I would like to talk though, but we'll see if I don't want to take too much place here. I know that Jacob sent me a few topics to discuss yesterday. I didn't read it yesterday on purpose.
No, that's right. I like to start meetings not with a blank page because then online meetings are very silent. So
Yeah.
I had some ideas, but maybe you could just take some of the topics I evoked, which are the most important for you, Jean-Marc. Sorry, I wrote in French because we communicate in French, but he cannot read.
No, we won't do it in French. We'll be kind with others. For me, maybe just one basic topic in general would be how much involvement each and every one of you would like to bring in, or do you want to get involved more into pyRevit or not? That's one general topic, because I know some of you have been doing things at different time in the repo or in the community, and you're the most responsive ones in general. But right now, I feel like the whole thing is kind of standing on only 2 feet, barely, and we probably need some more people to get involved to make it go further a bit, especially with the future update that will be needed in the coming years or two. Due to the .NET improvement that is expected on the Revit side. So how do you feel about that?
I'm sorry, what is the update in Revit? I think I missed
You
that.
know,
.NET 8.
they're gonna switch the .NET framework. So that's kind of a big thing, because the whole I'm not 100% sure pyRevit will resist to that update entirely. Hassan maybe can pitch in.
To be honest with you, I have to download and test it. pyRevit compiles itself basically on the platform, but I know most probably the IronPython is going to show a little bit of conflict, so that's going to have a hard time loading. And then the compilation infrastructure that pyRevit uses is old. It's not, those tools aren't available on .NET Core anymore. We have to switch to Roslyn. I do have a lot of good experience with that I sort of like picked up in the past 3 years working on the script editor in Rhino. So at some point, I feel like Autodesk, if they're going for like a summer release or something like that, that would be the sort of like one of the highest priority items to make sure that pyRevit compiles for .NET Core and people can actually use it.
Excellent. If I can give you a bit of insight, I don't think it's a secret or anything, but because we work with Autodesk or Dynamo, and we've already done the migration to .NET from framework 4.8, so that's definitely happening from the 2025. So from the next release, everything would be .NET 7, 8.
8, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think what do they call it? The work in progress version that's out there.
The preview.
Yeah, the
Yeah, the
preview.
preview,
I have to
yeah.
download that and make sure to test pyRevit with it. I don't know if anybody else is up for getting involved in updating pyRevit to .NET Core, but at this point, I kind of assume that that task will be on my list. I'm not sure how much.
I have access to the latest preview, so I can borrow my time against testing it, but I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna be testing, to be honest.
Okay.
Like if I just roll out pyRevit, it's probably gonna break. I don't know. Maybe we can have like a session at some point and you can see on screen or something.
Yeah, I think what I was thinking, because most probably when you load it, you're gonna see a bunch of like nasty crashes, which is not gonna be helpful because you're basically just gonna see the first one and the Revit's gonna crash. I think it would be better for me to take a look at it and apply some fixes, and then all of us will test it more and find the other edge cases and all that kind of stuff. I think like finding those edge cases are gonna be the hardest thing with this. There's gonna be also a whole bunch of scripts that people wrote for pyRevit that might not work in .NET Core because they might be using .NET APIs that are not available in .NET Core.
Yeah.
So we have to make that one also clear to everybody that, hey, like, it runs on .NET Core, but these APIs aren't available. That's the problem that we're running into with Rhino. Rhino has this automatic checker that checks the plugins against .NET Core, but there's some stuff that are not available. So we just basically have to tell people that, hey, you need to update the plugin.
And will the script running against the IronPython runtime, will it work still, or do we need to?
It should work. Yeah, it should work. We're using the same IronPython in Rhino, so it's 2.7.11. And we have the extra 3 in pyRevit. All of those, they're actually .NET Core builds. So they should run on the Core framework. No problems. I'm not too worried about the IronPython engine itself. It's mostly all the crap that I wrote in the middle of it to make all of those work in .NET Core.
One funny thing I noticed this morning is that you started in 2014, right? So it's going to be 10 years now.
Yep, this year, yeah.
That's your birthday.
Yeah, I'm working on, I started talking to somebody to create like some pins or something like that as the, like a 10th anniversary kind of thing. It's unbelievable. It's already 10 years.
Such a long time.
Before we go to the next topic or something like that, I just wanted to, now that, most are here, I just wanted to extend a very, very warm thank you to all of you for supporting pyRevit in the past couple of years. When I switched to Macneil and started working on Rhino, I had no idea what I really walked into. And with the sort of like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna become a better programmer. I'm gonna work on this and that and the script editor. And I was really excited to put all of this inside Rhino, but it took such a long time. And I've been talking to Jean-Marc the past couple of months, and every time he asks me for something, I'm like, I'll do it today, but then it'll fall off the list again because there's like forum items and I have to respond and there crashes and all that kind of stuff.
That's our private joke now.
You guys, especially Jean-Marc, have been incredibly useful in the past couple of years, just keeping things going.
Thank you. We still need some extra people, I'm pretty sure, because
Yeah.
I have my set of skills, but there's quite a few that I don't have, and I'm not able. I keep on understanding more and more what's the infrastructure of pyRevit, but I don't get everything because I don't have any background in C# or I don't have any background in software engineering or anything. So I know that some of you are much, much better than me at coding in general. So you should feel free to join in a bit if you can, especially in the community, but also in the fixing of the issues in general, because there's a few ones that are, I think, quite simple up to a point when you know C#, but I don't know it so well. So
I get the feeling that I'm sort of in the same boat. Like I am interested in helping out more, but I think the step to getting into the entire projects might be a bit much to feel useful at the moment. I think I have some inkling of knowledge about C# from 5 years ago, but yeah, that's I think already pretty much outdated.
well,
Yeah.
one of the things that really bothers me most when I take a look at the whole thing is the people that cannot install pyRevit properly so that it works right away. And there's always the same repeating patterns of the DLL hell, obviously happening with the add-ins loading one at a time and not in the same order on every computer, and that messes up everything. And that's one thing that is probably fixable up to a point, but I wouldn't know how to get a hand on top of this task in particular.
There is Dosimat who is writing in the chat. Maybe you could open as well. I don't know if we can share that, so everyone can see what's going on here.
So through the conversations that I had with Jean-Marc, we kind of decided to start writing some stuff down. So I'm still kind of working on creating some of these pages that describes what the overall folder structure are for the runtime of pyRevit and the code files and all that kind of stuff. So I think I can start doing that and we can share it and everybody can take a look at it and all that and kind of feel like if they feel comfortable getting involved with those kind of stuff. But the entry point, I feel like it's always the issues on the GitHub list. We might between us, we might have some conversation about each one of the tickets and say, how like this is, could be fixed in that place in the runtime and stuff like that, and see what we can pick up or not. I just got an email, for example, but there's some items that could be like prioritized. Like I just got an email for the icons in pyRevit. Apparently Revit has added this dark mode that makes all the icons not very visible. And I know it's a quick fix. I kind of know where it is. I just have to find the time and go and fix it.
Yeah, because right now what we just added the icon_dark.png possibility so that people can have access to it.
Okay.
So it's working, but it's not a direct optimization of the code itself. It's just a quick fix.
Okay, so we could technically just copy all those icons in pyRevit and invert them and make them work with dark mode.
Yeah, right now it's working already in the dev one, and I think in the latest release it was done already. And that's something
I'm
that
not sure if
was
it's
it
in the
Dosimat
latest
that does
release.
it? I really cannot tell because I'm always using the latest version available on the dev side. So I have no idea what happened when this happened last time.
Okay. Okay,
I
that's
think
good.
that was for a quick fix from Dozimap that is here, but not necessarily talking, because we had a talk and his English is okay, but maybe not for this conversation. But he did fix it, and whenever you add the dark after the name of the icon, it works pretty okay. And it works also with extensions.
Okay.
But a direct translation of the icon in the runtime and everything would be maybe more a bit easier to be able to translate
Actually,
the
to be
colors.
honest with you, I actually really like the underscore dark solution, because that kind of gives people a full flexibility on what kind of icon. We kind of ran it in the same
Yeah.
problem with Rhino. We try to, because we know all the colors in the icons, and we try to automatically update those. But then, you know, the way people set their dark modes and all that kind of stuff might be slightly different on every machine, and the way that, you know,
Yeah,
that kind
that's
of stuff.
true.
We kind of
Yeah.
decided that let's just separate the icons from each other and make sure
Yeah.
for most of them you have to make sure the contrast is right and all that.
And especially when you work with colors, sometimes having a
Yeah.
colored icon, inverting it is not a solution to a dark mode. So I actually prefer being able to control it with that underscore
Yeah.
dark mode icon.
Well, that's done in the dev one. And there's
Yeah.
also a script into pyRevit extras dark mode, and there's a small code that helps with changing the icons from one to the other. So you can do the conversion. It should be actually
That I
maybe
didn't
a
know.
tool in the settings section, maybe, where we could add that specifically to the
Well,
settings.
It
But
would make sense to put. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. It requires pillow, so that's why it's a script
Mm.
outside, and I don't think pill is here in the engine.
Okay. Jean-Marc, I know I asked you, you told me that it's okay to release. Should we release a new version of pyRevit now?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely yes.
Okay, okay. I'm
And
gonna
like I mentioned, I would really appreciate if you can record yourself, and we
yeah.
could make it available maybe on a private page if you don't want to show everything around, but make it available to these people, for example, so that they get a grasp of what's involved behind. Even though I know it's a small stuff, just pressing the release button itself, but just
Okay.
checking the
No,
stuff that needs.
I promise I'll do that today. I'll do that today, and I'll send you a link to this, and I put it on the page. Because there's not that many steps involved. Just make sure to look at my notes again before I speak too early. But the general step is just to manually create a PR from the develop branch to the main branch, and the continuous build automatically builds this installers and everything
Yeah.
else, and then it gives
Then
you
you
this
just
post in the releases.
and then you just have to fix the text in the release
Yeah, exactly. Just go
section,
in
right?
and it puts some notes about, like, you know, issues and all that kind of stuff. You add the things that you need, and then hit publish. I'll do that recording today and release.
Because I really feel that I mean, not having a release every month, but twice a year would be the sweet spot to me, especially the yearly release of Revit would be a good time to bring it, and then after that, like 2 or 3 months later, when there's the first fix.
Dusty says CI is broken on fork repos. I haven't
That's
looked
because no,
too
that's because
deeply into.
there's no token on it. That's why
Yeah,
there's no
yeah,
certificate. That's why.
yeah. You kind of have to set that up independently on your own forks.
That's something that it's inside the dev/pyRevit file where you have the installs steps, I think.
So yeah, so the install these CI scripts will look for those secrets, but the secrets are actually set up on the repo in GitHub. GitHub has a place in the settings that you'll set up those like tokens and all that kind of stuff in the secret section. Yeah, so that's that certificate name and the certificate private key, they're all added to the repo in GitHub. That's my experience. I don't know if you guys know better, but my experience is that all the projects work exactly the same way. So I do work on other public projects like Python.net. My fork doesn't do the builds. I have to go set up everything to make sure it runs, because at that point it uses my account.
Yeah, yeah, it does remember that's the same error that I got at the time. And the explanation is in the file I sent, the pyRevit.py one.
Okay.
And you have all the
I mean,
explanation. I can show it maybe on the screen.
Dozimap has a good idea. Maybe on dev branch and stuff like that, we can skip some of these checks so it actually builds. Okay, I'll take a look at that.
It's here where it stated how to make the certificate thing.
Yeah. Yeah, those should only be used on the main branch when it's actually building the installer and it's signing all the DLLs.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll look into that to make sure that doesn't really run on the dev branch. And we'll add this to the notes at the top of here. Okay.
I think last time, Andrea, you got a couple of questions for Hassan because you were willing to get involved a bit more into the dark side of coding. Oh, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you. While Andrea is working on the microphone, where are we located? I'm in Portland, Oregon. I know where Jean-Marc is, but I'm not quite sure about everybody else.
I live in Vienna, Austria.
Okay.
Also, Jakob Steiner from there.
Okay.
I live
I'm
in
very close.
Belgium.
Belgium, Austria.
I'm next to Vienna, Bratislava.
Oh, nice. Okay. Cool. Something's happening, Andrea.
Sorry.
We got a bit of your sound when you
No
typed.
sound.
Someone from Russia. Привет.
Yeah, that's from Russia.
We're still waiting for you, Exxon, to come to London.
That'd be super cool. This year, so I went to London first time last year, and that was my first time being in London. I absolutely fell in love with it. I was like, oh God, I've been living in a small city for past, I don't know, 10 something years. So just being in a big city had the big city effect on me. I was planning to kind of do something like that this year and come and stay for a bit longer. But it kind of hinges on my workload getting a little more humanly. In the past couple of months, every month I've told myself the next month is gonna be better, but it hasn't really gone that much better. I'm assuming in the next 3 to 6 months, everything should stabilize, because I'm like, at that point, all the bugs are out. Yeah, and then the Rhino is stable and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm mostly working on the original goal to have all of these scripting infrastructure work inside of Revit, with Rhino inside Revit. So you have access to a more modern Python and all that kind of stuff in there too. So hopefully, around summer, I can start planning doing something like that, a little more traveling.
Fingers crossed. We hope.
Fingers crossed.
But if you manage to split that work in biteable things in good pieces, maybe we could help with that. Unless you feel it's too complicated to split it.
With which one?
The fact to transform a bit the infrastructure of pyRevit to make it work with new Python and new engines.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we definitely can do that because like one of the things that I've been working on in the past couple of years is to update PythonNet to support Python 3 a little bit better. Like we have a decent support in Rhino now with like subclassing and all that kind of stuff. There's still bugs that I'm trying to work through, especially with like the way it resolves methods and all that. Everybody else, as far as I know, they use this stock PythonNet, so it's missing some stuff. My goal is that all of this will be public because our changes to Python is technically public, and I can use that inside of an updated version in pyRevit. So we have a really good Python 3 support at that point. And I've been doing a lot of testing with 3.9, with Python 3.9, and we're gonna switch to 3.11 soon. So it'd be a sort of like a modern, stable version of Python in a .NET application with a decent set of features and kind of as close as it could get to IronPython. And also with package management.
Oh, no, that's nice.
Yeah, that's what we have in Rhino right now. So like at top of your script, you can say requirements NumPy, and it would install NumPy in the backend for you.
Yeah.
Like everybody has stars in the eyes right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds exciting.
Do you think that switching to Python 3 and moving on to the next .NET framework, is that going to be, do you anticipate that's going to be like 2 speed bumps for your regular development or 1 single speed bump?
So I wouldn't call this I wouldn't call it a switch to Python 3. I would assume even we add the Python 3 support, the core of pyRevit 4 at least, we're gonna make decisions for pyRevit 5 later. But for pyRevit 4, the core will still run on IronPython. IronPython is sort of like in many ways, it's faster than the Python 3 bindings in .NET application. But the Python 3 has this extra feature that will give you access to all the numeric scientific libraries in Python and all that. So I can see them work in tandem, and we do have the IronPython 3 in there. So if somebody wants just Python 3 because of the syntax, they can use the IronPython 3. These two are mutually exclusive. Like I'm assuming for the foreseeable future, they live together because each one of them has its own edge cases and, pros and cons. IronPython is really good at dealing with the .NET data types and all that kind of stuff because technically it's a .NET language. It just has a Python syntax. Everything gets translated to the CLR runtime, to the CLR intermediate language. In CPython bindings with PythonNet, everything is basically run as an interpreter, which means that every time you call a .NET method on an instance, it has to resolve and figure out which method you're trying to call. So it's inherently slower than IronPython, although the native side of it, which is Python 3, might be faster, but it gets kind of bottlenecked by this back and forth between
translation
native and CLR. So we will just, I'm assuming that at some point we'll have a really good Python 3 support, but the core of pyRevit will still run on a stable version of IronPython.
Okay, that's good to know. Then I can tell people just stick with Python too. It's fine. With IronPython, I mean. So
yeah. And then for pyRevit 5, I've started like sketching ideas and stuff like that. One of the main ones is to move all the core to a C# current, basically DLL. So we don't have to run on IronPython. It would be a lot faster to find all the extensions and the tools and all that kind of stuff. And it would be a lot more dynamic. So as you add and remove things, the Revit UI will update without preloading and all that. And also, like one of the other ones, as Jean-Marc mentioned, getting an installer to work on Windows is a nightmare. I've done like 3-4 different variations at this point, and it's just it's not there. So what I'm thinking for pyRevit 4 is that for pyRevit 5 is that if you can just have one DLL that everything's embedded in it, and when it loads for the first time, it expands. Something like that, that people can just, like the way the Revit lookup works. There's a DLL that you just place somewhere and it works, instead of having like a bazillion files in an installer, something like that.
I don't know if you saw the thing that Recon did, the dependency injection for Revit. I sent you the thing in
I saw
Slack.
the link that you sent me. I didn't quite understand what that was for.
Well, I think it's to be able to at runtime to be able to inject dependencies inside your application, so you don't have to ship it with it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I don't know if it's an avenue other than packing everything into one DLL. I don't know which one is easier. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's still a pain anyway. I keep on seeing the issues on GitHub about pyRevit not loading, the same thing, error compiling and everything. And even though I know that the solution is usually to move all the add-ins into one place, load Revit, and then bring them back and reinstall pyRevit before bringing them back, people don't get it, and I can understand that, but they just don't get it, and it takes like forever. It's like thousands of messages at the time to get things going. And I feel that we are missing people on the train because of that, because they cannot install it properly.
Yeah. Okay. Andrea is asking, do you have to run debug configuration to share the test, to test pyRevit runtime from Visual Studio and VS Code? I'm not sure if you can actually connect to it from VS Code, but pyRevit will build everything in when it's loading. So you could use Visual Studio to debug the original core DLLs, like pyRevit, pyRevit tools and stuff like that. But the runtime itself, you basically have to connect to Revit when it's running, and then put breakpoints in there in the code and stuff like that. Because the DLL will be generated at runtime, basically. Jean-Marc, you started the a Slack channel for this. I'm assuming that this is where we're gonna have conversations between, this group.
I don't think so, because most of the people reply by email instead of Slack, because
Okay.
they were not using Slack at all.
Okay.
Which is always a pain to find which solution is the best. Discourse is the closest one, maybe, even though the forum is not like entirely fine for discussion, but that would probably be the best location for now.
So when I joined Magneto a couple of years ago, that was the first time I started working with Discourse, and that's when I kind of set up the pyRevit Discourse thing, and I ended up really liking it. I have set up a group that is called contributors there, and you can have like private posts and conversations and all that kind of stuff that's only visible to that group.
Yeah.
So as long as you throw it in that category or something like that, it would be private. If everybody agrees, we can sort of like create something like that, a thread in the forum. So all of us will check that every once in a while, sort of like get involved in the conversations. Or this is for me kind of to know that if I want to send a message to everybody and sort of like ask a question or something like that, I'm reasonably sure that everybody will see it at some point. Or we can go in the route of just having an email list, and I don't mind either of them.
Email, Discourse.
I think Discourse might make more sense because it allows you to like check in when you have some time instead of just getting a mail and then forgetting about it a week later. So I think that takes my preference there.
Okay.
But with Discourse, you also can get email notifications, no?
Yeah, so you have two in one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, actually that's true. You can get email notifications from Discourse.
Usually that's how I get back to pyRevit forum. I keep forgetting to check there. Then I get some kind of summary from there. Then I automatically open it. I'm like, okay, what's happening?
Okay. So I guess
that
we
could
can
be kind of 2-in-1.
okay. We can do a post on the like contributors category and stuff like that, and everybody can kind of like subscribe to it or respond to it or something like that. And you would get email notifications for that thread every time there's a new post and whatnot.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I will do that and I will add everybody there. I have a couple of these tasks for today while releasing another version of our Rhino inside Revit. Forward post. Okay.
We went a bit over the half-hour time
okay.
frame I gave, but if you guys want to continue, I have to go, but if you want to continue discussing, some of you wants to continue discussing, I can bring you as a host if you want.
Don't know. I did like this meeting, so maybe we should think about another one in the future. But I also have some more work to do today, so yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
that's my
Yeah,
case
I'm
as
down
well.
to having these meetings like even like monthly or something like that. If you guys want,
Okay,
I'm totally
so
down.
let's do this. And
Yeah.
do you like
Yeah.
the half an hour format? Is that okay? I think that's keeps things tight.
Yeah, I would say like half an hour to an hour, and then we probably end up having an agenda. Like, hey, like these 3 things we want to talk about.
Yeah,
So we can set it based on like how many
sure.
items. Yeah.
I didn't want to bring one for this first meeting so that we get to know each other a bit and see
Yeah.
if people have questions and we're go for it. So, and one last question, maybe how close do you want to have this group? Like, do you want to keep it very tight, like 10, 15 people, or do you want to enlarge it a bit?
To be honest with you, my thing has always been like let it be open. Anybody
Okay.
who wants to contribute, all that kind of stuff, they can. It's a fairly open project. The more contributors, the merrier, obviously. The only time that it kind of starts causing problems is like how many people will show up in a meeting and how many people have opinions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think a forum situation will kind of resolve that because you can have these conversations on a on an asynchronous kind of way.
And maybe also
so like-
spotting on the topics and make it like complicated enough. Maybe we'll keep people from asking simple question that they could ask on the forum.
Yeah. And the nice thing about the forum is that like every time, this is what I do, every time there's some conversations happening, I go back to the original post and do an update on it. So the new people that come in, they see the result of all those conversations kind of happening.
Okay, good. So thank you, everybody. It was nice seeing faces behind the names and the weird names like Sander.
I took a couple of screenshots of this. This is great.
And thanks, Hassan, for waking up early, or I don't know if it's early for you, 7 o'clock, but thanks for your time.
Of course, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for everything.
I'll bring the recording on the forum if people
It's
want
our
to share it
pleasure.
with other
Thank
people.
you very much for your work.
Right, thank you. Yeah, thank you for
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing us.
Cheers.
Bye.
See
See you.
you. Bye-bye, guys.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Good luck. Stay warm.